On the night of March 13th, 1997, from Nevada all the way to Arizona, more than 10,000 witnesses reported seeing a massive unidentified flying object. Among them were pilots, teachers, police officers, and even the governor of Arizona at the time. They all described seeing 5 to 7 bright lights forming a perfect V shape, gliding silently across the night sky. The object was so huge it seemed to cover the entire sky over Phoenix. But what shocked everyone the most? There was no engine noise, no exhaust flames, and not a single radar record of its presence. That night, every phone in Phoenix was ringing. Police departments, TV stations, the military, even NASA. Hundreds of sighting reports poured in at nearly the same time. No one knew what it was, and no one could explain how something that large could hover for several minutes in one of America's clearest skies without leaving a trace. This became one of the largest and most well-documented mass UFO sightings in human history, known today as the Phoenix Lights. At 8:15 p.m. that same evening, the desert air in Arizona still carried the day's lingering warmth. Nurse Linda Howell had just finished her shift and was driving her old Ford along Interstate 10. Outside the window, the desert was pitch black, with only the distant lights of Phoenix glittering on the horizon like scattered diamonds. As Linda focused on the road, something suddenly caught her eye. A strange glow in the sky. 6 orange-yellow lights were hanging there, perfectly arranged in a V shape, hovering a few thousand meters above the ground. Linda rubbed her eyes, thinking it might be exhaustion playing tricks on her. But a moment later, those 6 lights began to move, slowly and deliberately. Under the faint starlight, she could just make out the outline of the object. It looked flat, triangular, with blurred edges, its wingspan so wide it seemed to stretch across the entire highway. The lights beneath it looked like embedded lanterns lined up in perfect symmetry. Yet there was no sound, no engine hum, no jet trail, not even a ripple of air movement from something that massive. The sight terrified Linda. Her hands shook as she grabbed her phone and called the police. On the line, she described exactly where she was and what she was seeing, a gigantic, unidentified object in the sky. She repeated it several times. There was absolutely no sound. At that very same moment, downtown Phoenix resident Jane Davis was on her balcony talking on the phone when she noticed something strange. The sky suddenly dimmed. She looked up and saw a massive shadow gliding over her head, blocking out the moonlight. She could clearly make out its shape. It was triangular, with sharp, clean edges and orange lights flickering beneath it. She felt a gentle rush of air sweep over her, but again, there was no sound. Panicked, Davis hung up the phone and ran down to the street. By the time she got outside, her neighbors were already there. Everyone was staring upward, eyes wide, watching as the enormous object slowly drifted across the sky. Some people were filming with their phones, others were praying, and someone shouted, "The aliens are here!" Around 9:20 that night, in Chandler, a city south of Phoenix, National Guard helicopter pilot Tim Latham was on patrol in his OH-58 reconnaissance helicopter. Suddenly, he received a message from ground control. Residents had reported a massive unidentified flying object over Phoenix, and he was ordered to keep an eye out. At first, Tim thought it was probably just some nervous civilians mistaking clouds for something else. But when he looked up, he froze. Right in front of him was a huge, dark gray, triangular object, slowly gliding in from the northwest side of Phoenix, about 1,500 meters above the ground. Tim tightened his grip on the controls, held the helicopter steady, and switched on his night vision goggles. Through the goggles, he could clearly see the full outline of the craft. Its wingspan was at least 120 meters wide, roughly the size of 4 Boeing 747s placed side by side. The surface of the object was smooth. No windows, no engines, no markings of any kind. The only thing visible were 6 orange-red lights glowing beneath it. Tim pushed the throttle to full power, trying to catch up with the lights. But no matter how much speed he added, the mysterious object stayed effortlessly ahead of him, as if it wasn't affected by air resistance at all. Then things got even stranger. As Tim tried to get closer, the helicopter's instrument panel suddenly went haywire. The compass spun uncontrollably, the altimeter dropped to 0 meters, and the radio filled with nothing but harsh static. Terrified, Tim immediately pulled the helicopter up, gaining altitude. Only after he had moved far enough away from the massive object did the instruments return to normal. It was as if the enormous craft was surrounded by some kind of electromagnetic field, something that interfered with any aircraft that tried to get too close. And with the helicopter burning through fuel at that speed, Tim had no choice but to turn back to base. Meanwhile, the massive flying object continued its silent path, gliding past Phoenix, then slowly moving northwest, before disappearing into the night sky. That night, from farmers on the outskirts of Phoenix to office workers downtown, and even trained pilots like Tim, more than 1,200 people saw that same strange object in the sky around the same time. This wasn't a fleeting UFO sighting. It lasted nearly 3 hours and spanned the entire southern region of Arizona. To this day, it remains one of the most credible and hardest to dismiss UFO cases ever recorded in human history. The day after the incident, the Arizona Republic, Phoenix's local newspaper, ran the story on its front page with a bold headline, "Mysterious Lights Over Phoenix. UFO Seen by the Entire City." Very soon, national and even international media swarmed into Phoenix, all waiting for an official explanation. A week later, the U.S. Air Force finally gave one. They claimed the lights were simply illumination flares dropped by the National Guard during a training exercise. According to their statement, pilots from Williams Air Force Base had released several M825 illumination flares that night. These flares, they explained, burn at high altitudes and give off an orange-red glow. Air currents, they said, could make them appear as if they were moving, causing residents to mistake the glowing lights and the shifting shadows in the clouds for a massive UFO. But that explanation didn't last long, because too many witnesses immediately exposed its flaws. First of all, illumination flares only burn for about 5 to 7 minutes. The mysterious craft, however, was seen gliding over Phoenix for nearly 20 minutes, far too long for flares to stay visible. Second, flares drift with the wind in random, uneven patterns, while the lights witnesses saw move steadily in a straight line with perfect formation. No wobbling, no drifting. And finally, the M825 flares are extremely bright and harsh to the eyes. Yet every witness described the lights as soft and steady, more like a self-emitted glow than the flicker of something burning. What's even more embarrassing for the official story is that the National Guard pilot who supposedly dropped those flares later denied it outright in an interview. He confirmed they did release flares that night, but not until after 10 p.m. and over a training range far west of Phoenix, miles away from where the sightings occurred. "There's no way that many people in the city could have seen our," he said. After the Air Force's explanation fell apart, several independent researchers formed teams to investigate the event themselves. The most well-known among them was journalist George Filer, a former Air Force intelligence analyst familiar with military operations and connected to several inside sources. Over 5 years, Filer gathered more than 2,000 eyewitness reports and even mapped out the complete flight path of what came to be known as the Phoenix Lights. When Filer analyzed the data, he discovered something remarkable. The earliest sighting didn't actually occur over Phoenix. It started much earlier, near Las Vegas, Nevada. Around 7 p.m. that same evening, a ranching couple north of Las Vegas saw a series of orange lights in the northwest sky. They were perfectly arranged in a triangular formation, flying low, so large they appeared twice the size of the moon and even blocked out the stars behind them. At first, the couple thought it was a new kind of military aircraft, but as the object passed directly overhead, they realized something was wrong. There was no sound at all. The lights underneath the craft cast huge moving shadows across the open field, and their cattle began to panic. That's when they knew this couldn't possibly be a man-made aircraft. They quickly called local authorities to report what they'd seen, but no one took them seriously. Officials assumed the couple had simply mistaken a natural phenomenon for a UFO. So it's not hard to see the massive object that appeared over Phoenix was likely just passing through. The earliest reports traced it northwest near Las Vegas, only a short distance from the infamous Area 51, a site long rumored to be connected to UFO experiments. This led some to speculate that the enormous object might have been a classified anti-gravity craft secretly tested by Area 51, accidentally exposed to the public because of a technical malfunction. And there's one more detail worth noting. Right after the Phoenix Lights incident, the U.S. government suddenly tightened security around Area 51, banning civilians from getting close. At the same time, the U.S. Air Force began public test flights of the B-2 stealth bomber. But the B-2's wingspan is only 52 meters, far smaller than the 120-meter-wide object described by witnesses. And unlike the mysterious craft, the B-2 makes a distinct engine noise when flying. In other words, whatever appeared over Phoenix that night, it wasn't flares, and it wasn't a stealth bomber. It was something else, something no one has ever been able to explain. But once Feller made his findings public, his investigation began to run into one obstacle after another. The first issue, the disappearance of evidence. When Fowler requested access to the Phoenix Police Department's patrol logs from the night of March 13th, the police replied that no such records existed. He then contacted Phoenix Air Traffic Control to obtain the radar data from that same night, but they told him the data had already been overwritten. That explanation didn't make sense. According to FAA regulations, radar data must be stored for at least 6 months. Yet the Phoenix Lights incident happened in March of 1997, and the data would not have been scheduled for deletion for another 4 months. Things got even stranger when Fowler managed to track down a soldier who had served in the Arizona National Guard at the time. The man privately told him that on the night of March 13th, they had indeed seen an unidentified object in the sky, and the unit had even received an emergency alert order, instructing everyone not to record anything, not to discuss anything. According to the soldier, when that massive object passed over their base, the radar system suddenly failed and communications went down for several minutes. Later, they were given a direct order from higher command. Whatever happened that night never happened, and anyone who spoke about it would be immediately discharged. But when Fowler later tried to get that soldier to testify, he suddenly vanished. His family claimed he had been transferred to an overseas base and couldn't be reached, but there was no record of such a transfer in the National Guard's public files. And that wasn't the end of it. Fowler even received anonymous warnings. In 2000, while organizing witness statements, he got a strange phone call. The voice on the other end was clearly distorted and delivered a simple message. Stop digging into the Phoenix Lights. It's not good for you. At first, Fowler thought it was just a prank. But a few days later, the original witness statements and audio tapes he kept in his office suddenly disappeared. The door showed no signs of forced entry, and the security cameras, somehow, had stopped working during that exact time frame. After that, Fowler became convinced. Behind the Phoenix Lights incident, there was an invisible hand, someone or something deliberately trying to bury the truth.